Good morning. The first item of business is general questions, and at question number 1 I call Mark Ruskell.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government whether it will issue a formal public apology to members of the Gypsy Traveller community in light of reports of the harm caused by what was known as the Tinker experiment.
Mr Colcap-Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. In 2023, we commissioned an independent archival research to better understand historical policies and their impact on the Gypsy Traveller communities. That research is now complete, and we are expecting to publish the report online by the end of May. Alongside the archival research report, we will also release a summary of findings from our initial engagement with community members impacted by these historical policies, as well as our initial response. These are complex and sensitive matters, and we are committed to getting this right to provide meaningful answers for everyone who's been affected.
Mark Ruskell.
Well, I welcome the fact that there's more research that is being done, but I think what this community needs, Minister, is an apology. This research must lead to an apology, because generations of families have been impacted by actions sanctioned by the state. My constituents have suffered. People who could have thrived have instead been shunned by the local communities, racially abused and provided with inadequate, if not inhumane, housing conditions. And they've endured decades of physical and mental ill health. So I would ask the Scottish Government what further action they can undertake to see meaningful improvements in the lives of those who've been impacted by this truly shameful period in our history.
Minister.
I thank Mark Ruskell for his supplementary on that, and I know that there has been engagement with the affected communities over the last few years, and I myself was able to visit communities in Bobbin Mill and heard about the effects of the Tinker experiment from them directly. Through the initiatives that we are currently taking on the Gypsy Traveller Action Plan, for instance, we are driving positive change and tackling inequality for communities across Scotland. In partnership with COSLA, we published our second joint action plan in September, setting out concrete steps to improve outcomes for Gypsy travellers in Scotland. And the voices of those communities and key stakeholders helped shape that plan, which acknowledged improvements in many areas since the publication of the previous plan in 2019, but recognises that further needs to be done.
Thank you. Kenneth Gibson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. In recent years, the Scottish Government has invested millions of pounds in infrastructure improvements for Gypsy Traveller sites. Scotland's 8,000 Park Home residents, I have 3 sites in my constituency, have received little support by contrast, and some sites are actually owned by Gypsy travellers. Can the Minister say when fees charged on Park Home residents will be held to the Consumer Price Index, as the Housing Minister suggested on 27th of February, rather than the Retail Price Index?
Minister.
Thank you. The Housing Bill introduced to the Scottish Parliament on the 26th of March 2024 includes provisions to change the basis of pitch fee uprating under the Mobile Home Act of 1983 from the Retail Prices Index to the Consumer Prices Index. The timetable for implementing the changes proposes in the Housing Bill Scotland is decided by the Parliament. We plan to implement the changes shortly after the bill receives royal assent. The bill and accompanying documents have been published on the Scottish Parliament website. The bill was introduced on the 26th of March 2024 and is at stage 2 of the Parliament scrutiny.
Thank you. As ever, concise questions and responses appreciated. Question number 2, Annie Wells.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to the latest Public Health Scotland statistics on delayed discharges in NHS Scotland, which show that the average length of delay for March 2025 was 27 days.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
Thank you, President Officer. I remain concerned about the delays people are experiencing in our hospitals. I'm clear that for those that are delayed, 27 days average is unacceptable. That is why we are reducing delayed discharge. Reducing delayed discharge remains a priority for this government. However, it is important to reflect that 97% of all discharges happen without delay. The latest figures also show some progress in reducing the number of people delayed, but we are continuing to work to drive that down much further. Our operational improvement plan sets out how we are taking forward the commitment in the NHS renewal framework to shift the balance of care from hospital to community, and I'm hopeful the work that local systems are undertaking as part of that will deliver better outcomes for patients and ensure hospital beds are there for those who need them.
Annie Wells.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer, but in March alone, delayed discharges led to 60,129 hospital bed days being lost, a rise of 3% on the same month last year. Cabinet Secretary, that's thousands of people stuck in hospital longer than necessary. So can the Cabinet Secretary spell out what immediate and medium-term actions the Government is taking to tackle this, and when can we expect to see real progress?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you. I hear what Annie Wells is saying and I appreciate the concern. I share that. We did see in March a reduction in the level of delayed discharge. I accept that that was marginal, it was small, but it is progress going in the right direction. And I am fully anticipating there to be further progress to come. And that comes off the back of very intensive work done on a whole system basis, so with our health and social care partnerships, with our health service, our local government colleagues, our community and voluntary sector partners, to ensure that capacity is in place to support them. In Glasgow in particular, that work is underway. We're also supporting similar work in Lothian, and that will be rolled out to other parts of the country through the operational improvement plan so that Annie Wells can see greater progress coming.
Carol Mockin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Cabinet Secretary will have seen the recent headline: the number of Glasgow patients delayed in hospital reaches highest level in a decade. Now, in my own South Scotland region in South Ayrshire, the average daily number of beds delayed occupied due to delayed discharge is almost 3 times greater than in East Ayrshire. How can there be such a difference between neighbouring local authorities, which already share a number of services, and health boards? And I have asked the Cabinet Secretary this before. What is the Government doing to help local authorities share resources and best practice in order to improve delayed discharge right across Ayrshire?
Cabinet Secretary.
This is a key concern, and you'll have heard not just Carol Mockin will have heard not just myself narrate this, but the First Minister around Ayrshire being a good example of the variation that there is of delayed discharge and social care experience that there is within Scotland. Part of the reason why we want to reform and improve the way social care is delivered. I met recently with North Ayrshire leaders on again a whole system basis, where it was health board leaders, the local authority and health and social care partnership, looking at how we can support them to make improvements on the challenging position that they have been in. We have given additional resource to our local authority partners through the budget, and part of that agreement was that there would be an intensity of focus and a prioritisation of that resource into social care, and I'm looking to see a transparency of that resource, where it has landed, what it is delivering, to make sure that that part of the agreement has been honoured.
Thank you. Question number 3, Colette Stevenson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on the progress of the East Kilbride Enhancement Project.
Cabinet Secretary Fiona Hislop.
The East Kilbride Enhancement Project continues to make excellent progress in line with the committed delivery programme. The 16-week closure of the line for essential works will conclude very soon, and I can advise Parliament today that services will return on the route on Sunday the 18th of May. I can also announce that the relocated and refurbished Hairmire Station will open on that date. I'd like to thank the travelling public for their patience during the closure period as we deliver this very welcome electrification and enhancement rail project.
Colette Stevenson.
I am grateful to the Cabinet Secretary for that update, as well as the Scottish Government's support for this transformational project. I, along with many rail users locally, welcome the fact that trains will be operating on the line again in the coming days. Given South Lanarkshire Council is responsible for the car parking and transport interchange at the new Hairmire Station, can I ask what discussions have been had with them regarding progress on these points, and could the Cabinet Secretary also outline the advantages rail users will get from this SNP government investment? And could she also say how the programme for government commitment to scrap peak rail fares will benefit my constituents travelling from East Kilbride, Hare Myers and Thornton Hall?
Cabinet Secretary.
The member is right to point out that local authorities have responsibilities in relation to rail projects like this. I can advise that there has been close partnership working with this one, and that the full South car park and a small portion of the North car park will be available from the Sunday, the 18th of May. This will double the provision that was available than at the previous station on the day of opening, with South Lanarkshire Council working closely with its contractor to complete that work. I can also confirm that the bus service provision will call at the station from Sunday as well, with additional bus services calling at the station in coming months. The transformational project will offer fully accessible and sustainable transport options for passengers as a result of the Scottish Government's investment. And given the role that this service plays in supporting commuters, I am sure that this Government's decision to abolish peak rail fares for good from September will benefit Ms Stevenson's constituents and indeed all workers and rail passengers who rely on the train to get to and from work.
Paul Sweeney.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Does the Minister not agree with me that it's a matter of regret that Transport Scotland asked Network Rail to abandon full dual tracking of the line, which would have enabled a turn-up and go frequency of 4 trains an hour, and that will no longer be achievable on a single-track route?
Cabinet Secretary.
So the member will be aware that there was thorough analysis of capacity and performance, and it was determined that rather than double tracking the whole route, the operational benefits could be delivered by the 1.4-kilometre extension of the existing double track section, and rather than spending disproportionate scarce funds on double tracking the whole route, prudent and wise investment planning has resulted in a similar output at a much lower cost.
Graham Simpson.
Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to meeting the Cabinet Secretary at the opening of the new Hare Myers station on Monday. And I will be travelling there sustainably by bike. How will she be getting there?
Cabinet Secretary.
I'm currently making the arrangements because West Lothian to Lanarkshire is a challenging trip, as you might know. So we're currently making those arrangements. But I think his point about the sustainable travel aspects of this new arrangement is really important, particularly for those that are working at Hare Myers Hospital. So the idea is to give choices and provision, and particularly for cyclists such as Mr Simpson.
Question number 4, Stephen Kerr.
To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on what steps it is taking to roll out stroke thrombectomy services on a 24/7 basis across the country.
Minister Jenny Minto.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government is committed to the sustainable expansion of the thrombectomy service. Work is ongoing to align the governance and delivery of thrombectomy with similar national programmes and establish the most effective means of achieving this with NHS colleagues. Our focus remains on maximising access and ensuring as many people as possible can benefit from thrombectomy. Procurement for a national artificial intelligence imaging tool is underway, and once implemented, this will support increased access to this important procedure.
Stephen Kerr.
Well, I thank the Minister for her response, but stroke care in Scotland is in crisis. The system failed Anthony Bundy. He was failed by the fast test, he was failed by the lack of 24/7 thrombectomy services, and failed again by a 17-hour wait for a procedure that only works if delivered quickly. That is indefensible. Scotland does not have a modern stroke service. We have a part-time system that is costing lives. Will the Government commit to a nationwide 24/7 thrombectomy rollout with staff and infrastructure required, and work with the Bundy family to deliver real change?
Minister.
I thank Stephen Kerr for his question and recognise the work that he has been doing with the Bundy family, who I had the privilege of meeting last year and listening to their experience. As a result of that, I've had numerous conversations with colleagues, and I've also visited the NHS Lothian Thrombectomy Hub, where I was able to speak to staff and learn first-hand about how the East of Scotland Thrombectomy Service works, and discussed sustainable delivery, staffing levels and equity of access with clinical and service management. And as I said in my first response, work is ongoing to establish the most effective means of further expanding access to thrombectomy to maximise the number of patients able to benefit from this treatment.
Question number 5, Alexander Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what engagement it has had undertaken with stakeholders in response to reported concerns regarding the implementation of the revised non-domestic rates process for self-catering operators.
Cabinet Secretary Shona Robertson.
The thresholds which currently apply to self-catering accommodation for the purposes of non-domestic rates were introduced following a recommendation by the 2017 independent Barclay Review of non-domestic rates to counter a known tax avoidance tactic for second homes. Officials have engaged regularly with Scottish assessors, local authorities and business representatives on the implementation of this policy that was introduced on the 1st of April 2022, and the Minister for Public Finance has offered to meet the Association for Scotland's Self-Caterers in response to their recent concerns.
Alexander Stewart.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response. The Association of Scotland's Self-Caterers and the Scottish Chamber of Commerce have written to the Scottish Government highlighting their concerns and suggesting constructive solutions to how that could be reviewed. Given the importance of self-catering to the Scottish tourism economy, which is almost £1 billion, would the Cabinet Secretary agree that this unfortunate situation needs rapidly processed before long-term damage can be done to the sector?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, let me say, of course, we absolutely value the contribution to the tourism sector, and of course part of the recognition of that was the hospitality relief of 40%, which the hospitality sector will benefit from, of course, which includes self-catering accommodation, and many, of course, will also be eligible for the small business bonus scheme. But as I said in my initial answer, the Minister for Public Finance will be meeting the Association for Scotland's Self-Caterers. I'm sure he would also be willing to meet the Scottish Chamber of Commerce to listen further to their concerns.
Question number 6, Jamie Green.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what discussions it has had with the charitable and third sector organisations regarding the decision not to introduce legislation to end conversion therapy practices and other equalities-related legislation during the current parliamentary session.
Mr Colcab-Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Ministers and officials meet regularly with a wide range of organisations to ensure that their expertise and their voices of those with lived experience inform our work. We have continually engaged with LGBTQI+ and other stakeholders as we have developed our work around ending conversion practices. We have updated stakeholders about our intention to work with the UK Government to fully explore legislation that would cover England, Wales and Scotland. But if the UK Government bill does not meet our priorities or does not go far enough, then we intend to publish our own bill in the first year of the next parliamentary session. We will also continue to work with stakeholders to develop non-legislative measures to tackle conversion practices in areas such as mental health and education, as well as our broader work to protect and promote equality and human rights.
Jamie Green.
The Minister will know that this week all major political parties have been barred from attending this summer's Pride events across Scotland. That saddens me, but, Minister, can you blame them? This SNP government promised in its 2021 manifesto, in which it was elected, to introduce this legislation over 5 years ago. The consultation on this bill ended over a year ago. So the excuse that the government has run out of time simply doesn't wash anymore. Can I ask the government to rethink their position on this? And can I say if the government will not introduce legislation to end this abhorrent practice, I will.
Minister.
I thank Jamie Green for his supplementary question. We are absolutely committed to protecting trans people and the wider LGBTQI+ community. The Scottish Government remains committed to protecting our communities from the harm caused by conversion practices, and this includes work on the Scottish legislation that we intend to publish in year one, as I stated in the new Parliament, should a UK bill not meet our priorities. And I will reiterate that we are continuing to develop and deliver non-legislative supportive measures to end conversion practices and support survivors. And we will work with LGBTQI+ organisations over the next 12 months as we do this.
Thank you. That concludes general questions. Before we move to First Minister's question time, I invite members to join me in inviting to the gallery and welcoming to the gallery the Honourable Sue Lines, President of the Senate, Parliament of Australia.